What's going on, guys? Cannabis Express 420 here. Today I felt like doing a long-awaited story time video. So this is going to be a little bit different than the normal stuff you're used to seeing. So if you guys do like the video, please like the video, leave a comment down below requesting more. I got a lot of stories to tell, but today I'm going to tell the story about the first time I smoked weed. So let's get right into it. So the first time I smoked weed, I was actually with my mom, and just to set the stage, um, my mom's not really the greatest person in the world, as you will come to know through a lot of these stories, and the house we were living in at the time was a two-story house with a big garage. It was actually really nice. And if my mom wasn't living there, it actually would have been a super great place, but it wasn't upkept super well, and the dynamic was not exactly healthy. So getting into the actual story, I remember the day like it was 30 years ago because it kind of was. I was 17 at the time, which going by internet time is fucking ancient. But one thing you need to know about my mom is she was growing weed in the basement without telling any of us, and somehow none of us knew until like the last year we were living there. And that was the reason we weren't allowed to do laundry, because the washing machine and dryer were downstairs in the basement where they were growing pot, and they didn't want us to find out. So we weren't even allowed to do our own laundry even if we wanted to, which is super weird. All right, I had to switch rooms because my AC just turned on and it's pretty loud. But getting back into the story, getting right into the actual part where I smoked weed, we were hanging out in the garage. It was me, my mom, and my stepdad, and I don't think I really need to give any of these people names. Uh, but my stepdad, I didn't really like him either. He wasn't super great. He had alcohol problems and smoked a lot of weed, but it was mostly alcohol that was an issue. And my mom just kind of ignored it and didn't really care. And he also wasn't the best parent in the world. He wasn't really like, hands on with his kids, and they kind of ran wild and did whatever the heck they wanted. So I kind of grew to resent my step siblings as well, but that's neither here nor there. You guys want to hear about me smoking pot. So getting into the mids, they were smoking a bowl and they were passing it back and forth. And then like halfway through, they were like, "Do you want to smoke weed?" And I was like, I don't know, I want to, because at this point I was interested in pot and I was learning a lot about it and wrote a couple papers about it in school, but I've never actually smoked weed. The only thing I've done is eaten an edible. And if you guys want to hear that story, let me know in the comments down below. I'll probably end up doing it anyway, but if you guys want to hear it, please let me know for sure. But I never smoked pot at this point, and they were trying to get me so hard to admit that I've smoked pot before. But I was a very literal child, and sometimes I told the truth, and this was one of those times. So I was like, no, never smoked pot before. They were very persistent. They asked me like 7 or 8 times if I've smoked pot before while we were going around, but ultimately they decided I was old enough to make my own decision. Again, I was 17 at the time, so they were like, whatever, man, if you want to smoke pot, you can. And I don't think my dad knew at this point that I was going to be smoking weed, and I don't think he knew for a couple of months. But from what I remember, it was super average weed. It just kind of smelled like and tasted like just that stereotypical weed taste. It was very mid, and it wasn't super exciting, but it did work. So I was getting a little bit blazed, and going back into the house where my siblings were after smoking weed for the first time was a super weird experience. And I was just super quiet, and I didn't really talk, and it wasn't super eventful. But after that, I smoked quite a bit more with my parents, and it was almost a daily regular thing after that point. It seemed like I just needed to break the ice and then get into smoking weed, and then they were just okay with it. And by this point, I was already like in the adult conversations, and I was hearing all the gossip and them talking shit about this, that, the other person, and whatever. I don't know why, but I grew up with a fucking super toxic family that would just talk shit about everybody. So there was always drama to be had because everyone was doing their own awful shit and everyone was judging each other for it. So it was pretty fucking fantastic to watch the world burn down, but that's neither here nor there either. um yeah, after that, it wasn't super eventful. The only thing I really had to deal with was my fiance at the time had issue with me smoking pot, and now she's warmed up to it and she's pretty cool with it. I talked to her one time about how I smoked a bowl while I was hunting at the time, and she thought a bowl of weed was a whole lot of weed to smoke all by myself. When it was just it was normal, and I wasn't getting super high at any point because again I was smoking mid. I wasn't smoking really good top shelf shit like I am now and getting really fucked up. I was just basically having the equivalent of like a nicotine high, and it was super lame actually looking back on it, but at the time I thought it was super fucking cool. I really do wish I could remember a whole lot of details of how it went down, but basically from that point nothing in my life got better until I stopped talking to my mom. But that's a story for another day. That was the first time I smoked weed. And actually, before I smoked weed, I kind of busted my parents, well, not my parents, my mom and my stepdad, for growing weed in the basement. And I took a marijuana leaf and I put it in my child's Bible. And I took pictures of it on my DSI. So shout out to you guys who had DSIs. My first photos of weed ever I took on a DSI, and it was to show everyone that my mom was indeed smoking weed and growing it in the basement and lying to us about it actively. It's a very weird thought process my mom had because my dad also grew weed, but he was completely honest about it and he was upfront and he was like, "Hey, I'm growing this. It's medication. I have patients. Sell it to them. Smoke it all the time. It's all good." And my mom, for some reason, wanted to keep it under wraps, even though she knew that we knew about it. But I don't know why she wanted to keep it a secret from us. It's very, very strange because even with my kid, I'm going to be like upfront and honest about it once they're like old enough to understand what is going on and that dad is partaking in medication and all of this stuff. I don't think it needs to be a secret from kids. So if I have any like actual advice for parents out there, it's be upfront and honest. Kids aren't stupid. They're gonna find out and they're going to be upset with you about it because I was upset about it because there was no reason to lie about it. But that's enough trauma dumping for now. I smoked weed for the first time with my mom and my stepdad in a cheap ass bowl that was like probably $10-$20 in a giant garage. And it wasn't super fun. It was kind of lame, but hey, I wanted to smoke weed and I got it. So, yeah. But that's going to be it for today's video. Again, I wish this was a lot longer. I had a lot more recording of this gameplay, and I'm playing Pokemon Fire Red. If you guys have any Game Boy Advance games that you like or want to see played, leave them in the comment section down below. I'd love to play some new games. Well, not new, but new to me. But hey, thank you guys for joining me. I will see you guys next time.